5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right. Hello and welcome. Hello and welcome. Welcome to another episode of the Empowered Immigrant Live. My name is Otis Landerholm. I'm so happy to be here with you today. I'm an immigration attorney. I'm also the founding attorney here at Landerholm Immigration, A.P.C, where we fight for your American dream. Welcome to today's episode of the Empowered Immigrant Live. The topic today is an update into Trump's latest craziness, and we'll talk about the travel ban as well. All right? Travel ban, or the riots. And so welcome everyone, and thank you so much for taking some time to be here with me today, and welcome to the Empowered Immigrant Live. All right? Remember, the Empowered Immigrant Live is here to train, teach, inspire, and empower immigrants to make the most out of immigration laws and to make the most out of their lives. All right? Why do we do that? Because in my opinion, immigrants are awesome. In my opinion, immigrants are an enormous contribution to our society, right? In my opinion, immigrants matter, and we should be grateful to have immigrants. You know, some countries in this world, right? Some countries in this world don't have immigrants. They have people leaving their countries rather than people wanting to go there. And so isn't it like a good thing? Isn't it a good thing to be a country that has immigrants, where people want to come, right? It's like immigrants are valuable, and they bring an enormous contribution to our society. And if you are an immigrant, and if you're listening to me right now, I hope you never forget that. All right? You're valuable. And thank you for your contribution. And today I want to do an update on what's going on in the world, and welcome to today's episode of the Empowered Immigrant Live. My question for you personally is, do you want to get a green card? Do you want to get a visa? Do you want to apply for asylum? Do you want to see what your options are? Do you want to see what the best strategy might be for you? Do you want to defend yourself or prepare yourself for the worst if the worst would happen? If you're in any of those situations, reach out, take steps towards whatever it is that you need to accomplish what you're out to accomplish in your life through immigration laws. And I'd love to help you in any way I can with any of that. All right? My firm is on a mission to win 10,000 cases in the next 10 years by 2035. We would love for your case to be one of them. Okay? So the news, right now it's June. It is June 10th is the day I'm recording this of 2025, right? Trump has been back in the White House now for approaching 150 days. And a lot has changed, folks. The Laken Riley Act was signed into law. ICE is getting going with its mass deportation efforts, which we'll share about right now, later this morning. The Senate and the House have approved Trump's budget for more deportations. There's a new registration requirement that has been announced and that is in effect. There's a new travel ban, which is in effect. We'll talk about that in a minute. The Trump administration canceled TPS for 350,000 people, and that was supported by the U.S. Supreme Court. People have been deported under the Alien Enemies Act without due process. Project Homecoming was announced. All the humanitarian parole processes have been discontinued. 500,000 people have lost their immigration status through that process, upheld by the U.S. Supreme Court. And so all that's happening. All that's happening. And as I'm talking, if you have questions, please feel free to send them. I'll do my best. I'll answer any questions that you have about your immigration case to the best of my ability. Okay? And right now, this week, on June 9th, or was it the 8th? So right now, there has been a new travel ban. A few months ago, I alluded to there was some news sources that said that this was on the horizon. So this now has been implemented, and I'll talk about that right now. And then there's the LA riots that are happening right now that I want to talk about too, and what that means for you and what that means for immigration cases. Okay, let's talk about the travel ban first. Okay, the newest travel ban was implemented this week. It affects people from 12, it especially affects people from 12 countries, all right? Afghanistan, Myanmar, otherwise known as Burma, Chad, the Republic of the Congo, Equatorial Guinea, Eritrea, Haiti, Iran, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, and Yemen. Okay, 12 countries. If you're from those countries and if you have a visa to enter the U.S., you will not be allowed entry into the U.S. All right? There's conflicting news about how it will be handled at the border. All right? So what my understanding is that it only applies to people who were outside the U.S. as of 12 a.m. midnight on June 9th of 2025, so yesterday, right? And whose non-immigrant visas, or who were not in possession of valid immigrant or non-immigrant visas as of that date, okay? What this also says is that after that date and from now until for the foreseeable future, no more immigrant or non-immigrant visas will be issued for people from those countries. Okay? And so it does not apply to permanent residents. It doesn't apply to people with dual nationality. It also doesn't apply to certain diplomats. There are certain visas that are exempt from this. All right? It does not prohibit people that were granted asylum from those countries. It does not prohibit people from applying for asylum from those countries. Okay? So but that is what's happening. And so those are the 12 countries that are affected with a quote-unquote full travel ban. In addition to that, there is a partial travel ban, which is suspending certain types of visa holders. So all of the tourist visas, B1, B2 visas, student visas, F visas, M visas, J visas, each of these visa categories are going to be canceled, right, or no longer issued for nationals of the following countries. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 countries on this list, partial travel ban. Those 7 countries include Burundi, Cuba, Laos, Sierra Leone, Togo, Turkmenistan, and Venezuela. Okay? And there's this announcement that a quote-unquote possible future suspension has been kind of warned to Egypt. Okay? And I think that all of those are kind of notifications to all of those countries to negotiate and or get in communication with the U.S. if they want travel authorization to allow their people to enter, allow nationals of those countries to enter the U.S. in the future. Okay, so that's happening. That's the travel ban. If there are questions about that, please feel free to send me your questions about that. And then the other quote-unquote craziness, right? And we could talk about why I call it craziness, is that the Trump administration has sent the National Guard to Los Angeles and now have sent Marines, the Army, right? I guess it's the Navy, Marine Corps, to the city of Los Angeles. And, why do I call that craziness? Well, it is crazy, right? To order the Marines and the National Guard to go into any city in the United States. Like, it's actually crazy, people. It's absurd. And it shows how far into the unreasonable our current administration is going to go. Okay? And that will affect a lot of people, right? It could affect me just for saying this. It could affect a lot of immigrants. All right? Here's what I want to say. If you get caught up in this madness, meaning if you're detained by immigration and if you're put into deportation proceedings, all right, have a plan. Understand what you would do. Are you eligible for bond, right? Are you eligible for asylum? Do you have arguments? Do you have a way to fight to say, no, you're not deportable? Okay? Figure out what your best strategy would be. Figure out what your best options would be. I also recommend, maybe this isn't legal advice, but maybe this is just human-to-human advice. I recommend not resisting arrest because it doesn't go well. All right? And somebody from the Marines is going to, it's like you can't really, you're not going to win that fight. Don't resist. Don't fight back. Instead, get legal help. And let's fight about this in the courts. Okay? We will win some of those cases. And that is what we can do. Okay? So thank you for being here and welcome to our episode today of the Empowered Immigrant Live. I appreciate each and every one of you. Welcome regardless of what platform you're on, YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok. And yeah, all of that is happening in LA. And it's like a showdown, right? And check it out on the news if you haven't seen it yet. But it's possible that it's just beginning there, right? It's possible that the Trump administration will do this in all of the sanctuary cities throughout the country. I mean, maybe the Bay Area is next, right? Maybe, maybe Seattle, maybe Chicago, maybe Atlanta, maybe Houston, maybe all of the cities that are doing what they can to try to protect the people that live there, right? Maybe they're going to be targeted. And, yeah, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens. It's it is a crazy time, all right? It is a crazy time. Very disturbing. And if you have an immigration case, right, focus on what you can control. And if that means applying for an immigration benefit, do it. And if that means helping a loved one file for an immigration benefit or petitioning for a spouse or a child or something like that, do it. And if my office can help you in any way with any of that, please feel free to reach out. We're here to help. We would love to help. Okay? That's all I got for my episode today. Thank you so much for being here. Let me answer the questions that I can here. So let's see. Sosa 1123. I see your question. Can I request a check of our check-in with ICE, although my case is closed administratively and with PD? You're scared. Can I request a check of our check-in? I don't understand what you mean by that. But for people who have cases that are administratively closed, there's a lot of people that have been receiving recalendar notices. All right. And so if your case is still administratively closed, okay, all right. And if you go to a ICE check-in then you can show them that your case is still technically in immigration court, your case is admin closed. They will not deport you if your case is admin closed. They, in theory, they could detain you, all right, which is super scary. But if you don't have any arrests and things of that nature, we have had clients that have check-ins, and it's gone fine for many of our clients that are in your situation. But some of that will depend on where you are in the country. Some of that will depend on the specific facts in your case. And but that's what you got to know. All right. And fundamentally, you do still have a pending case before an immigration judge. So you're in a much better situation, believe it or not, than someone who has lost their case in court. Right? So you didn't lose, you had PD. They could recalendar your case, which they might do, but that's very different from being someone who really is at risk of getting detained and deported. Okay? Maria Flores, you say, you helped me on another one of your lives with feedback from my spouse's bond. Thank you so much. Maria, thank you very much for sharing that, and I'm glad that it was useful, and I hope that that went okay, right? I don't remember the details from that last live session, but thank you nevertheless for being here, and thank you for sharing that. Okay, you're very welcome, and I'm glad that it worked out. Okay. Shaheen Views, I see your question here. You say, is the I-130 affected by the ban? Not directly as of right now. An I-130 is not the application for the visa yet, okay? And so with the I-130 and the I-130 process can still move forward regardless of what country you're from. What you'll need to do is you'll need to understand what the travel ban says after the I-130 is approved and when the case gets forwarded, for example, to the National Visa Center. Okay? And so, and that's where the travel ban could affect the processing. But right now, and this is all brand new, so all of the, my understanding will likely change as we see more of these cases. But my understanding as I'm standing here right now is that this will not affect applications for permanent residency, all right? And so, and it depends on which country you're from too. I can give you much clearer guidance for people from certain countries better than others, all right? But anyway, so that's Shaheen. Thank you for being here. Thank you for asking that question. No, the travel ban does not technically affect the I-130. You can file an I-130. The question will be, and often the biggest question is, can your family member, can your loved one, the beneficiary of that I-130, use it once it's approved? And that will be a future analysis. Okay? Pranks war poised. Pranks war poised. I don't know if I'm saying that name correctly, but hello and thank you for being here. Your question is, can someone that had a waiver before becoming... Okay, can someone that had a waiver before becoming a U.S. permanent resident in 2011 travel internationally? So, yes. I'm going to say yes, and I'm going to say best advice is talk to an immigration lawyer before you travel in your situation, because it does depend on what type of waiver it was. It does depend on what needed to be waived, right? Yeah, depending on, there are some situations where you might be at risk to travel internationally, and you are a green card holder. All right, and so you do have the rights of a lawful permanent resident. However, my best advice, honestly, is talk it through with an immigration lawyer who can look at your waiver and make sure that they understand what it was that was waived. Hopefully it was just unlawful presence, or hopefully it was even if it was like a willful misrepresentation of a material fact, for example, and that was waived, and then you get your green card, yes, you can travel. We've had clients that do that without issue, all right? Where it's a crime or a criminal-related issue, that's where it has me the most concerned, okay? Some folks with criminal records from the past, even before you had the green card, and then travel, it can cause an additional analysis at the time of re-entry, and sometimes it's not a good idea to travel for folks in that situation. Excuse me. And thank you for asking that question. All right, sorry that I have a cough. So if you're just tuning in right now, welcome. Thank you so much for being here. My name is Otis Landerholm. I'm the founding attorney here at Landerholm Immigration, A.P.C, where we fight for your American dream. I'll answer a few more questions here right now, and then we'll wrap up, and I'll do this episode in Spanish, all right? So Ariel Bonilla, I see your question. You say, my marriage-based sponsor has been on extended maternity leave. Does that affect us at an interview? Typically not. Typically not. That's your sponsor. And so, yeah, at the interview, the sponsor needs to show their quote-unquote current annual income. And as long as their income is still above the 125% of the federal poverty guidelines for your household size, including the beneficiary, including the immigrant, then it will not affect it at all. The maternity leave is, it rarely becomes an issue, right? It's like they look at tax returns from last year, right? And if your sponsor has a letter that from an employer that says what they make and that they're in good standing, they'll go back right after maternity leave and away they go, right? I've had that issue before, and the immigration officers didn't even ask about it. They didn't even care, okay? So I hope that that's the situation for you. It shouldn't cause any big impact to your interview. Make sure that all the other issues in your case are clean, and make sure that you're very, if they ask for an additional piece of information about it, then no problem. They would typically give you 60 days or so to respond if they wanted additional stuff. The officer would tell you. Okay? So, but in my experience, typically that does not cause an issue. All right, Girish Mathad, a pending U visa application filed on May 2024, traveled to India in October 2024. How USCIS considers it while initially reviewing a petition and later? Okay, so you didn't travel on the U visa. You have a different visa that allowed you to travel to India, yes? Okay. So if you have a different visa and you're applying for a U visa at the same time, okay, that works. That's okay. You can do that. Just be mindful and be in compliant with the terms of your other visa if you're traveling under that other visa. When they do an initial review of your U visa, they'll just make sure that it's a bona fide application. They'll make sure that everything's signed, that it's certified by the local law enforcement officer, that you've submitted the basics for your U visa, all the basic forms, etc., basic evidence to show you're eligible for a U visa. And if so, they can issue what's called a bona fide determination of your U visa, which then can be used to apply for a work permit. All right? I'm saying these things on the 10th of June of 2025. These things could change, all right? The bona fide determination process was done under the Biden administration. It didn't exist before the Biden administration, and we don't have, we're in a new world right now. So those things could be taken away. They have not gone away yet, all right? My office is still receiving bona fide determinations on U visas. And so, yeah, and so, but the initial review is just a superficial checking the boxes, was there enough to at least submit a U visa. It is not the final determination of your eligibility for the U visa. That will be done years and years and years and years in the future, 30 years in the future. By 2054, you'll receive notice on your 2024 filed U visa. All right? And that's just the reality, because unless Congress changes the law. But right now, Congress has limited the number of U visas that can be approved to 10,000 per year. And there has been 30,000+ people applying for U visas every year for the past 10 years or more. All right? Hence the 30-year delay. All right, so the next question is from Mike BRO. You say, hello, sir. Unfortunately, my I-130 and I-485 was denied due to 204C for prior marriage fraud. And there's no time to request a FOIA. Do you recommend me to appeal it or refile a new petition? I really appreciate it. I recommend that you do not do any of these things on your own. All right, and I'm really sorry that your case was denied under 204C. I recommend, with a case like this, file your FOIAs right away, all right? Review the FOIAs very carefully, and then refile your case with a bunch more evidence to show not only that your current marriage is bona fide, but show that your prior marriage was bona fide also, all right? And that's what you're going to need to do if you want to overcome that 204C fraud finding, okay? Those are, those are tough. Those are tough. Coco, I see your question. If someone gets an EAD pending asylum, can the person go for a Social Security number appointment if he overstayed? Yes, 100%. All right. The overstay, don't even, right now you're in legal status. Your status is that of a quote-unquote asylum applicant. All right? That's a legal status. You are an asylum applicant. And you have a work permit to prove it. All right? So yeah, go to the Social Security Administration, get your Social Security card. Congratulations. Good luck with that. And do what you can to maximize your chances of winning your asylum so that then you can change your work permit category from C8, which is asylum applicant, to A5, which is asylum granted. You want to win your asylum case. All right, but that's the way that works. Okay, vibes. I've got to go faster if I want to answer them all. I see a lot of questions coming in, so thank you all so much for being here. Really appreciate it. I'm Otis Landerholm, Landerholm Immigration, A.P.C, where we fight for your American dream, and we are fighting, folks. We are fighting tough fights in immigration court right now. So vibes, you say, I have an I-360 approved, an asylum denied, and a BIA appeal, and a 212 denied. Is that a 212I, 212H, or an I-212? What do I have to do? Vibes, this is my best advice. Have a consultation. Let's review everything, and then we could really tell you what you have to do, right, to maximize your chances of all of these things. Get that I-360, right? You've got that approved, so there might be a priority date you've got to wait for before you can use it. I'm glad you've appealed the asylum denial. Let's see why it was denied. Let's see if there's a way to remand it back to the immigration judge. Let's see if we can maximize your chances of winning the appeal, right? Let's do a consultation and really help you figure that out. All right, VGS, you say, for the visa overstays, how much danger are they in for people here over 15 years? All right, so if you've never been in deportation proceedings, you've never been in removal proceedings, but you entered on a lawful visa, well, if you get arrested or detained or processed or something like that, they need to give you a notice to appear. You've got over 2 years in the country. You've been here 15 years, which means that you can fight your case in court, okay? So, if that were to happen, talk to a lawyer, feel free to give us a call, and let's fight that case in court. And that's the way it works. All right. Betty, you say, hola, salí de los Estados Unidos en el 2020, tenía visa U. Por 3 años salí a México por emergencia. Tengo hijos que son ciudadanos estadounidenses. I'm really sorry about this, Betty. Lo siento eso. La visa U requiere que uno tiene 3 años de presencia física dentro de los Estados Unidos para poder usar la visa U para aplicar para un green card. Así que si usted no ha usado, si no ha seguido en Estados Unidos esos 3 años, no va a calificar para su residencia. ¿Ok? Sin que, y a veces es posible eso, si usted tiene todavía válida su visa, y si realmente es visa en el pasaporte y no solo el estatus no migratorio U, que a veces se llama, usted tal vez podría entrar con una visa U en su pasaporte y luego pedir una extensión hasta 3 años para poder aplicar para su green card. Si quiere hacer esas cosas, llame a mi oficina y con gusto podemos platicar acerca de esa estrategia. All right? To repeat that in English, I left the U.S. in 2020 on a U visa for 3 years. Well, it's now 2025. So where are you now? Right? So, otra pregunta, Betty, es que si usted salió en el 2020 con visa U, ¿está todavía en México o ya ha vuelto a Estados Unidos? Porque tenemos, o sea, ya es más que 3 años. ¿Ya? Si su visa todavía está válida, debería entrar hoy, ahora, ¿ya? Si tiene realmente visa. Mi mejor recomendación es que haga una consulta legal buena. Podemos platicarlo bien. All right. Thank you. All right. KK4268. I just got my green card yesterday. I have 2 last names, but USCIS only put my married name. All right. If that's a USCIS error, then what you do is you have to send your green card with Form I-90 filled out, and you don't need to pay a filing fee if it's the government's error. And you need to say, hey, put my full name on it. All right? But also check your marriage license to see if you changed your name legally on your marriage license. Sometimes that happens too. Also double check the forms, because typically USCIS follows the information that was put in your immigration forms. And so you want to make sure that you did it right, or that your attorney did it right. Okay? And if it was your mistake or your attorney's mistake, then there will be a filing fee to change it, but it still can be changed. Okay? All right, M22839, you say you were arrested in the U.S. on an F1 visa. The case was dismissed. Prosecutors saw no criminal intent, but dropped the charges. Okay, congratulations. I'm glad that your charges were dropped. All right, it still can cause inadmissibility, depending on what the government finds actually happened there, but I'm glad that the charges were dropped. All right, I would say before traveling outside the U.S., talk to an immigration lawyer who knows what they're doing. Okay, Laura Rain. Hola, ¿cuánto está tardando el AOS de hijo para mamá actualmente? Gracias. 2 años, más o menos, 2 años. Ok, 24 meses, a veces menos, a veces más, depende de en qué oficina de inmigración está, pero más o menos 2 años. Ok, 2 years, folks, more or less. Sometimes it's actually, we've seen these cases approved much quicker, but I like to say 2 years. Because, err on the side of it taking that long. All right, let's do it no risk. Good to see you. All right, I've seen you in several of these, so thank you for coming back here today. You say, my deportation procedure was canceled without prejudice at the court, and I had my green card for 6 years. After about 2 years, I applied for an N-400, and it was denied at the interview for misrepresentation when I got my green card. Can I renew my green card? Great question. Thank you for asking it. And you're not alone with this set of facts. I have successfully renewed green cards for people that are in your situation. However, in this environment and under this administration, I would cautious you. My best advice would be to run all your FOIAs first, if you haven't already, and let's really look at it carefully so that we're fully informed of any risk associated with renewing your green card. You know, if there was a misrepresentation when you got your green card or that allegation in place, they could NTA you, right? They could send you to immigration court and say that technically you are deportable under Section 237 of 237A of the Immigration Nationality Act, and so you want to be mindful of that. Okay. All right. So let's see. KK, I see your follow-up question. Do you think it's safe for me to travel on it? You're talking about your U visa, right? No, your green card. I see that. With 2 last names and they only used your married name. You know, does it match your passport? Because it's often wise to make sure that your green card name matches your passport exactly. And hopefully it does. If it doesn't, then maybe take your marriage license with you and show that maybe that was your legal name change. Sometimes that happens. For example, if you changed your name when you got married. But yeah, in order for me to really give you advice about that, I would need to see all those documents and be like, wait, this makes total sense, or maybe you need to renew that green card first. Okay. Uriel Miramontes de Leon, you say you got approved for a green card. I'm just going to answer your question and one more, okay? And so Uriel Miramontes de Leon, I got approved for a green card. I had a past arrest, which was disclosed to immigration, which falls under the petty offense exception. So I'm admissible. Would you recommend travel? I would only recommend travel after seeing the documents for myself. So as a lawyer, I can't give you quote unquote legal advice without really looking at the documents for myself. But if everything that you're saying is correct and the arrest had caused no other inadmissibility at all, right? Wasn't a controlled substance issue, wasn't, then I believe you're probably okay, all right? But I am not formally advising you to travel unless I look at all those documents with my own 2 eyes, all right? I hope that's helpful. Let's see, user 5060, is it safe to travel outside the U.S. with an extension letter? You're waiting on the I-751 approval. I got that. What we do in your situation, user 5060, and thank you for being here, what we do is we apply for what's called an ADIT stamp, A-D-I-T stamp, that can go into your passport that proves that you are a lawful permanent resident with the I-751 extension notice. And travel with that and travel with the original receipt notice of your I-751. We've had our clients do that without problems, okay? And so, yeah. Okay. So, Mustafa, you're going to be my last question. I saw your question come in right now. You say, they still detain in a first NTA. I'm here since 2008, and I have 94. You have an I-94, you mean? You're here since 2018. Got that. So you have your NTA. Is this your first hearing? I would recommend, if you're in immigration court and if you have a hearing coming up, I recommend you have an attorney go with you. They are detaining people in immigration court. In my experience, they're only doing it when people are subject to what we call expedited removal, which means that they have arrived within the last 2 years. Okay? And so, but there are a lot of things changing. If you're in immigration court, I recommend having a lawyer go with you to that hearing, prepare your case, and be ready to fight. Okay? Awesome, you guys. Thank you all so much for being here. I really appreciate each and every one of you. All right? Let's stick together. We got this. Immigrants are awesome. Immigrants are valuable. Let's shine that light to the rest of the world. Let's show the rest of the world that actually immigrants are great people. All right? Like billionaire president of ours may never have had like an actual conversation with the millions of immigrants that are in this country that are providing and working and doing a good job and making things happen for their communities. And that's his problem, right? That's his problem. And unfortunately, he is bent on his worldview and really pushing his worldview on the states and on other people. And, as I would say, that is his problem. It's just becoming quickly the problem of the rest of us too. The way to fight back against that, though, is to continue to shine our light, show the world that actually, immigrants are awesome. All right? Actually, it's a better strategy long term to welcome immigrants, right? And allow them to contribute to society so that the society has fresh ideas and fresh perspective from other parts of the world. Like it actually is what has made America such a strong place historically. And please, let's not forget it. All right? That's all I got. Thank you all so much for being here. I really appreciate each and every one of you. My name's Otis Landerholm. I'm the founding attorney here at Landerholm Immigration, A.P.C, where we fight for your American dream. And I'll see you next time on our next episode of the Empowered Immigrant Live. Thanks a lot, everybody. Make it a great day. Take care. Bye-bye.